Hello there, you absolute legends. Emma McElhinney here with Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. I am here to ruin your misconceptions about perimenopause, fat loss, and kick midlife in the face. So if you think your 40s are a drag, think again. Because every week I am going to be stripping down the myths about perimenopause. I'm serving you raw, unfiltered truths about your health and smashing misconceptions about fat loss. And a whole lot more. So if you thought you knew midlife, you don't know the half of it. Aging is inevitable, but getting old is a choice. So buckle up, grab a glass of something yummy, and let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to the next episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the musings of a bullshit queenager. This is me, Emma McElhinney, founder of Team Eat Move 1. I am the bullshit queenager, or just bullshit. Depends on what mood I'm in, really. Now, today I've got a treat for you. I actually don't know how many things I have, but I will put it in the title so it makes sense. But I think I've got 8. 8 really powerful tips and hints of dealing with the festive period without the normal overwhelm, without the normal gluttony, but still being able to have the nice food and the cheese, because that is absolutely vital, and just without doing your own head in. Really, I suppose it's as simple as that. So let's get stuck into it. Now, before I do that, I must remind you, please, please, please like and share and comment or do all the things with the podcast. Tell somebody about it, share it in your socials. Honestly, it's my goal for more people to be able to have a really good, solid, healthy lifestyle, which doesn't sound very sexy. How do I make that sound sexier? Any marketing gurus listening, tell me how I can make that nicer. But I don't want anybody to be in an all or nothing type approach with their food, their hormones, or their exercise, or their stress management. I want people to be able to have a really confident life that they love, and they love themselves and they love their body at the same time. So there we go. Right, let's get into it. Now, one of the big things that we forget about Christmas and hints and tips, or all hints and tips, is everybody wants, just give me the tools, just give me the tactical things that I can do. And this first one is actually going to ask you to think a little bit about who are you and who do you want to be? Let's look at identity. So at Christmas, one of the very common things that I get in January is, oh my God, I have gained a dress size. I've gained 10 pounds. I feel disgusting. How could I have done that to myself? And in the here and now, when that happens, when you get the outcome, you're really unhappy with what you've done, really unhappy with you, because that's not who you are. So this year, before you go into the manicness of like the Christmas weeks, think about the person in January. What do you want her to be saying? Do you want her to be saying, oh my holy God, I have gained 14 pounds, 8 pounds, whatever? Or do you want her to be saying, yeah, I've gained some weight, but you know what? I'm really happy with the decisions that I've made. I really enjoyed the time that I had, and I'm really looking forward to getting more into a routine. So think about, who do you want to be once Christmas has happened? Is she saying negative things about herself, or is she saying positive things about herself? Is she tired and full of beans, or is she slumped over the sofa having a nana nap? So think about that person, and then that will naturally make some of these other hints and tips that I share with you today a little bit easier to deal with. So that's the first one. Just think about who you want to be at the other side, and what does she say about herself? What does she do? How does she act? Now, the second big tip is about being really, really honest with yourself, getting real with what is going on. And let's take the 10 pounds weight gain as an example. You're like, oh my God, I gained 10 pounds over Christmas. No, most people did not gain weight over Christmas, because Christmas is Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day. 3 days, right? We gained 10 pounds over the month of December, because what can happen, and it does happen to a lot of people, is this switch gets flipped. Going, right, it's Christmas time, and I'm just going to eat all the cheese, and I'm just going to eat sausage rolls, and I'm just going to eat brie wreaths and all the things, and not give two shits about what I'm putting in my body. I'm going to drink alcohol more than normal. I'm going to go on social events more than normal. So it's not just Christmas, it's the culmination of all the different things and the rich foods and the not moving as much because it's cold and eating crappy food because we're a little bit hungover. So it's a combination of everything. So my next tip is absolutely taking extreme responsibility of what you are doing. And that doesn't mean say don't do it, but we have to own our own actions and we have to own our own decisions. So, you know, Christmas Day, the 3-day period at Christmas, or even New Year, that period probably has very little to do with what the outcome is. It's a culmination of all the other things that we've done. So that is my second tip, is just being aware that everything that you do is a result of an action that you have taken or a decision that you've made. So that's not necessarily, you know, a tip on ourselves, but getting very real about, you know, whatever it is I do, all inputs create an output. So if you don't like X, Y, and Z output, you're going to have to change the inputs. So just thinking about that slightly differently can be enough for some people to make different choices, healthier choices at times, but still be able to make the terrible choices because you want to make the terrible choices and you'll enjoy the terrible choices, because this period of time is not really a time to be, you know, going into extreme calorie deficits or only eating kale or quinoa or other shit like that. The other thing we can do over December, all over the festive period, is not necessarily thinking about goals, but not necessarily, please not weight loss goals, because you can't control what it says in the scales. But, you know, your goal might be to, I want to be able to wear this outfit in Hogmanay, or a goal might be, I want to be able to go for a 5K, do the Boxing Day 5K, or my goal is to be able to have the energy to do some socializing between Christmas and New Year. My goal is to, you know, have my jeans still fit up. So think about small goals, but also really importantly, is thinking about how you want to feel. So not just a, you know, it doesn't have to be a specific smart goal that you can measure, but, you know, how do you want to feel? Do you want to feel in control? Do you want to feel that you've nailed something? Do you want to feel that you look beautiful? You know, thinking of all the things that not necessarily are, you know, tangible, measurable things. And that can be a really good way of not feeling out of control. This one is my favorite tip. And for those of you that are self-confessed control freaks or action takers, then I think this will appeal to you too. But this is all about planning and using your calendar, using a schedule. So for most people listening to this, you're probably, you know, you're probably in your 40s. You probably have a business or you have a job, and you're not going to be getting up every single day and going out in the raz, right? That doesn't tend to happen. If you are, do I envy you? I don't know if I do, actually. I genuinely don't think I could deal with that every single day. But it does not mean that you're going to go out in the piss every single night in December, right? So have a think about what your actual social events are going to be. Now, research tells us that most people have 3 festive events over the course of December. So whatever they are, put them in your calendar and plan ahead for them, right? Put everything that you know is happening. So if you're going to your granny's for Boxing Day leftovers, put it in your calendar. If you know that you're going to the panto and helping out for the school, put that in your calendar. So putting everything in, because what can cause a lot of poor decision making around food is not feeling in control. And one of the reasons that we don't feel in control is because we don't know what's going on. We don't know where we're meant to be or what we're doing. So starting to plan things in advance and knowing that they're coming is a really good way of dealing with all of that any time of the year, right? So think about what you've got coming up and then start making commitments to yourself about where you're going to be or what you're going to be like. So if you know, say you've got 3 social events. So you've got Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and Christmas Eve, right? They are off the wall, and you've got 3 other events. So getting really real with yourself about what you're going to do. So if those 3 events are normally booze fueled, you know, a lot of like, there might be buffets or there might be really rich meals. Just get really honest with yourself about that. So don't go in pretending I'm just going to go and have a white wine Switzer and I'm going to have the salad, right? You're probably not going to do that. You're probably going to have an entire bottle of wine, take your shoes off, dance on a table, fall over on a curb and have chips and cheese on the way home, right? So just get really honest with yourself about what is likely to happen at those events. So that then the other days, the days that you are not out, you're at home, you're doing normal things, or you're doing Christmas shopping, or you're whatever, you've got more control over those days. But at the very least, you have been completely honest with yourself. So then at the other side of it, you're not going to feel ashamed or guilty, or I can't believe I was going to be so good, and then I've eaten this entire sausage roll wreath, and downed all the eggnog, right? You know, stuff happens. You know, if you're in your 40s, you've got like the best part of 20, 25 years of socializing under your belt. You know you best. You know your friendship circle best. You know your work circle best. Just get really honest with what's going to happen at those events. And just remembering that, you know, just because it's December doesn't mean to say that everything goes to shit. You know, just remember that you've got goals. You've got things that you can do to reach those goals. Yes, you've got additional social events, but it's about making sure that, you know, doing what makes you feel good, not just in the moment, but afterwards as well. This one's all about food. So for those of you that are trying to lose body fat, you'll know that being in a calorie deficit is the way that that's going to work. And obviously, if you've got a lot of events on, or, you know, you're drinking more, being in a calorie deficit can prove a little bit more difficult at this time of year. But it's not impossible to be in a calorie deficit over the festive period. You just have to be a little bit more inventive, or a little bit more adaptable. That's probably the right word. So we know that if you're going to parties or buffets or meals out, those are going to be highly calorific. We know that alcohol is highly calorific. And we know that if we eat more of those calories than what we expend, that is going to be converted into body fat. That's science. It's just how it is. But if you know that you've got something coming up, which you will because it's in your calendar, like the previous tips, if you know that that's already happening, you can do what we call calorie banking. So in the days running up to the event, you can bank 100, 200, maybe even 300 calories, depending on what your starting point is, so that, you know, on the day of the event, you're still going to go over your calorie goal, if you like. You probably will go into a calorie surplus, but you have taken potentially 600, 800 calories from previous days to almost minimize, I don't want to say damage, I don't think that's the right word, but you can, to minimize the impact of that calorie surplus. I don't want, like, it's better to do it in advance than it is to do it, pretend that you're going to do it in the days after, because what tends to happen is, you'll know yourself, if you've had a drink, if you've had a night on the sauce, the next day you are a carb monster. You will feel hollow, you will be insatiable hunger, you will not feel that you want to be in any form of calorie deficit at all. So best bets is to try and bank these in advance. Now, the same kind of applies to if you know how much protein you should be having, then you can do this with your macros as well. If you don't know what macros are, it just means big nutrients. It's carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. But on the day of the event, you can do this really well. So most events, parties, meals out, whatever, tend to have more carbohydrates and fat than what you would normally be eating. So on the day of anything happening, bank your protein. So have a shit ton of protein for your breakfast, shit ton of protein for your lunch, and just making sure that you're eating lots of fruit and veg in the mornings and at lunchtime. So it means that you're still getting energy, you're still getting fuel, but you are going to get all your carbohydrates and fats from the event or from the meal, whatever it is that you're doing. So it means that you're still getting the right amount of macros that you need. So we know protein keeps you fuller for longer. We know that it helps build muscle mass, which is going to help increase your metabolism. Very important. So get your protein in. And we need the fruit and veg for the nutrients, especially if we're putting alcohol in our body, because alcohol is a toxin and our bodies don't like consuming toxins. So, you know, we're doing what we can to give ourselves the best possible chance of feeling amazing the next day. in terms of calorie deficit is going to create a fat loss. Calorie surplus is going to create fat gain. Now, over Christmas, most people will have some kind of weight gain, not necessarily fat gain, because we cannot, on the scales, we're not measuring fat. We are measuring our bones, we're measuring the fluid in our cells, we're measuring our blood, we're measuring everything, not just fat and muscle as well. So the number in the scale doesn't directly correlate to fat gain, but it can. So if you're like, oh my God, I really want to lose 2 pounds over Christmas, right? It's probably unlikely, but it's not. A lot of my clients will come after, like in January, they're like, oh my God, I ate really well. I really enjoyed it. I still ate the cheese, and I'm only 2 pounds up in the scale. And what they find is a couple of days after that, that 2 pounds vanishes because it's not actually fat. All that's happened is they've been eating later on in the day and they've got more food in their digestive tract, or they've been eating carbier foods and saltier foods than normal. And that has a reaction to the volume of fluid in our cells. There could be inflammation just for the amount of alcohol. So it doesn't necessarily correlate to being body fat. So it's quite an important thing to remember, that when you're on the scales, it's not just fat that you're measuring, it's all the other bodily bits as well. The biggest area that you can help yourself with is environment and setting your environment up for success. Now, if you know that, I don't know if anybody knows me, that you might understand that I'm talking about myself here, but if you know that you are a cheese fiend, if you know that you could easily eat cheese for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, despite probably giving you really bad heartburn and making you feel a bit sluggish, you're not going to keep your fridge full of cheese over December. You're going to moderate when you have it available to you. So for me, I have the cheese on Christmas Eve, sometimes maybe on Christmas Day if I've not eaten my own body weight in roast potatoes. But being very mindful about, if you know that you cannot leave a tin of celebrations half full and you'll eat your way through the box, try not and have them in the house. You're setting yourself up for torture. If you know that you cannot leave half a family bag of cheese and onion crisps, just buy individual packs of cheese and onion crisps. There's lots of different tactics you can employ here to make your environment work better for you. Don't say no to going to somebody's house because you know that they're going to have alcohol. If you know that you can't moderate your alcohol, that's a whole different discussion point. But don't be scared to go out. You can't control somebody else's house. You can't control what somebody else is doing. Yes, if you've got intolerances or allergies, then of course you're going to say to them, please don't have whatever there, because I will, come out in a rash and I might drop dead. There's lots of different things. But set your boundaries about your environment, what you can control. The thing, like, people say, oh, but I need to have the tins of celebrations out for the kids. You don't. You genuinely don't. You can help moderate what they are consuming as well. Like, no children should be eating tins of celebrations for breakfast. So it's making it easy for you to succeed and make better decisions, and making it harder for you to fail. So if you need to put them out of sight, like, don't leave them out the counter. But if you need to put them out of sight, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll have 5, and you take 5, you own it, you really enjoy it. That's the main thing, because very often when we are in a place of, well, I can't leave them, I can't say no, or, once it's open, they're all gone. That's a result of, very often it's this clandestine approach. I shouldn't be having this and being bad. And we try to eat it as quick as possible, so that it's almost like we hope our brain doesn't catch up with what we're doing. But if you shift that slightly and go, I'm going to have 5 of these, and I'm going to sit over there, and I'm going to sit next to the fire, and I'm going to put this movie on or whatever it is, and I'm going to really enjoy it, and I'm going to lick the chocolate off of these. Once you start giving yourself permission to do that, the clandestine nature of that almost goes away, and you're like, oh, didn't enjoy that as much, because you've not had that whole feeling bad and feeling out of control moment. And the other thing that you can do around this is if you've got trigger foods, a lot of people have trigger foods, is practice and delay gratification. And again, giving yourself permission to have and enjoy, like, I'm going to have that and I'm going to really enjoy it. But you're going to do it in 10 minutes or 15 minutes or however many minutes. And you're going to go and do something else, whether that's like hang up the ironing or make the bed or clean a window, whatever. And then, but you've given yourself permission to go back and have it in 10 minutes. And when 10 minutes comes, if you still really want it, have it, but love it and enjoy it, taste it, enjoy the texture, smear it all over your face if you have to, don't really care. And chances are, once you can do that once, you'll be proving to yourself, your brain will be proving to itself that actually you're not a prisoner to these cravings. You're not a prisoner to these celebrations or to these crisps or whatever it is. So they are just some little ways of making an environment work better for you. The other thing is if you're going to somebody's house and you know it's all like oven party snacks, like a lot of pastries, a lot of higher calorie things, you can take things that are going to serve you and everyone else better, you know, taking a platter of veggie sticks or taking a platter of some, you know, reduced fat hummus, things that you know that you will eat in conjunction with some of the other things so that you're not just fueling your body with saturated fats and pure quality carbohydrates. You know, there's a lot of things that you can do, and make sure that your house has got good choices. Make sure that when you open the fridge that you do have access to things that are going to serve you better, like your fruit and veg, like your Greek yogurts, berries, all the things. You know, low fat squishy cream can make any mince pie taste decadent. It doesn't need to be in double cream. You know, mini mince pies instead of full size mince pies. There's loads of things that you can do to make your environment work better for you, so that you're not always just going, well, I didn't have any other choice. Give yourself good options. Tip number 754, I've got no idea what number on, is all about the alcohol. Now, alcohol is a toxin. Once it's in your body's not going to do anything else particularly well. It wants rid of that toxin. It's, you know, if you are drinking, own it. I think I said in the last podcast, I gave an idea, like you can get pissed on 500 calories, 3 glasses of Prosecco. Whatever it is that you're drinking, you must finish the glass before it's topped up. And in between glasses, you must have some water. You know, set some boundaries for you. You know, you don't have to just always refrain from drinking if you don't want to, but you can make the process a little bit better. And remember the rule of 3, that during the third one, most people, I'm knocking notepads everywhere, most people after the third one don't enjoy whatever it is that they're drinking or eating at that point. So, you know, pizza is a good example, glasses of wine are a good example. You know, people are normally like, oh, I didn't really enjoy that as much. You know, you don't have to continue doing it. The downside about alcohol is it lowers your inhibitions and you make more terrible choices. And that's just the nature of the beast. So remember, you can, things that are lower in calories are things like gin and vodka, your clear spirits, you know, using sugar-free mixers. Low calorie mixers will help as well. But thinking about, going back to that very first point about thinking, how do you want to feel at the tail end of this? Like, how do you want to feel tomorrow? Do you want to feel that you're out walking, doing the things, or do you have bandwidth to just not do anything, like have no kids around you, no cleaning, anything like that? And if you do, and that's what you want to do, then absolutely fine. But just check in with yourself, how do I want to be tomorrow? And I can't remember what point it is, about getting really honest about what the likelihood of is going to happen at that event. I think from an alcohol point of view, it's probably the biggest damager for most people, because of inhibitions go out the window, but good decisions go out the window. But it's the knock-on impacts of, you know, what we eat the next day, what we're eating that day, what we eat the next day. That whole feeling of I can't be bothered, you know, my goals can wait, now is not the time. Eating all the carbs the next day, then feeling crap for the next 3 days because we've got no energy while our body's trying to expel this toxin for our body. So I suppose it's just something to be mindful of. Tip 5004, workouts. Just because it's December doesn't mean you get an automatic pass to not work out. You should still be working out. You might need to move your workouts to different days, different times. But if you're using your schedule and your calendar and you're treating these workouts as important as all your other meetings, then you can still get them done. You might not be able to do 4 a week, but you might be able to do 3. You might not be able to do 3, but you can do 2. But whatever it is, decide early, get it in your calendar, and it happens, whether you like it or not. And the final tip is about making a decision and a commitment to yourself of what you're going to do when. So what I mean by that is, for me, the Friday the 22nd, when the schools go off, that is the start of Christmas for me, right? So not December. I still do normal things. I have some social events, but at the 22nd, and that's when I will be relaxing. You know, I'll probably have more alcohol, I'll probably have more shit food, but I will still be sticking to my non-negotiables. The 27th for me is I am doing all my non-negotiables. Boxing Day I probably won't, but on the 27th I'll be doing everything within my power to feel back in control. And then again, the 31st, Hogmanay here, and then, you know, there's another 3 days. We have a bank holiday on the 2nd because Scotland's too hungover to go back to work. But one thing I have learned working with hundreds of clients, and one thing I have learned about myself, is that don't sit around in your arse waiting to feel motivated, because you will not feel motivated. All the things that you've done in the previous 2 weeks, you know, in terms of energy levels, in terms of, you know, the stuff that you're putting in your body, how little you've moved your body, they will not allow you to be motivated. The only way you'll get motivated is by doing the actions, and then that brings the motivation. So making sure you know when you are back and you will do the do. And when you do the do, you start feeling motivated. Motivation is fickle. It's like my cat. So just be mindful of that. So there's a gazillion tips for you over the festive period. And these aren't just applicable just to Christmas and December. These are applicable to any stage in your life. You know, you might have a big birthday in June. You can apply all these hints and tips to then, so that, you know, your 1-day birthday doesn't result in a 30-day carb fest, not moving your body. You know, these are things that are going to serve you into the rest of your life and keep you fit, healthy for a long, long time. So it's definitely worthwhile implementing some of them now and seeing how you're getting on and adapting them. So, oh, this has helped you. If you've got any of your own, please, please, please share, and I can add them to the next one that I do. And in the show notes, so wherever you're listening to this, in the show notes, there is a PDF document that you can download, which is called Jingle Bells. See what I did there, clever. Thank you, ChatGPT. Jingle Bells, a Christmas extravaganza, blah, blah, blah. Can't remember else what it says, but there's recipes, there's little workouts that you can do, there's hints and tips of how to, more hints and tips, different ones from what I've gone through today. So it's a nice wee document. So to have a wee download of that, and I will speak to you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and share. And just like that, we have spiced up another episode of Piss Off Perimenopause and the Musings of a Bullshit Queenager. Massive shout out and a huge thank you for hanging out with me today. I really hope you've been entertained. And remember, don't be shy, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, keep those heels high and standards higher. Remember, it's all about glowing, growing, and downright owning it. So catch you on the flip side, and don't forget to click the link in the show notes to get your freebie.